Hi guys, welcome to this video session where we discuss about approach to geography for prelims. My name is Sudeep. I am a faculty at Insights. So of late a lot of students were asking about how to go on with our preparation for geography subject. They had a lot of confusion on geography being very vast and it is becoming very dynamic. And so what exactly that they need to study in order to get good marks, especially in geography as a subject for prelims. Okay, so this video session is more or less to decipher how to approach the subject and to remove certain myths that is there on how to prepare for this subject. All right, so let us see how to go about it. Fine. So this presentation that you're seeing right now is showing the geography questions that is being trending of late for the past previous years. So this particular slide that you're going to see now, this slide is showing the number of questions that are being asked from the year 2013 to the year 2019. Okay, so if you observe from 2013 to 2019, more or less you see that there is a downward trend, right? So from 14 questions, all right, so in 2015 there were around 11 questions. So now you can see 7, 8 and 8. More or less the question is revolving around 8 questions in geography, not more than that. All right, so what does that mean? That means should you deprioritize geography as a subject to read? Definitely not. All right, definitely not. The we are going to see how to go about geography as a subject, but just by looking at this data you cannot take more call on it. Okay, one thing what is certain is, yes, the number of questions in geography is reducing, but how or what another way that geography can help you get more marks is what you're going to see if you watch until the end of the video. All right, so more or less if you see this graph, you can see there is a downward trend of the number of questions being asked. So in the 2018 and 19 there were more or less 8 and 8 questions that were asked in geography. All right, now we have also done the topic wise segregation. Okay, so if you observe this topic wise segregation, the segregation is topics from the year 2011 to 2019. Okay, so if you see the topic wise segregation of the geography questions, so you can understand that these two become the focus area. Okay, these two are the most important topics when it comes to world geography, where most of the questions are revolving. Correct. And if I take Indian geography and if I observe Indian geography, so in Indian geography I can narrow down the focus area. The focus area would be somewhere here, right? So this is where most of the questions are revolving. All right, so by observing the trend analysis of let us say a decade or so, I can make sure that the questions being asked are from which topic, which are my main focus areas. Correct. So this is more or less what is the trend analysis that we can deduce. But will this give you any idea of how to go about geography as a subject to study? Definitely not. Okay, most of the coaching institutes, what they do is they give you such data, all right, but it will not give you the true picture of how to go about preparing for any subject at all. Okay, so use this data to get a proper to get to an extent oriented on how to go about the studies, but don't use this as your base for preparing for any subject. Okay, so this will give you a ready-made way of understanding what are the focus areas, but this is not a foolproof approach to your preparation at all. Okay, there is an order how every subject has to be approached, and if you follow that order, you're definitely going to ace this exam, especially the prelims exam. All right, so what is this order all about? So since this is a session where we have to discuss more about geography, I will give you the order how to go about with respect to geography as a subject, which you can replicate in other subjects as well. Got it? So let us go about it. So how to go about things? See, right now you just saw what is the trend analysis. One, you understood that the number of questions are reducing, but that doesn't mean that you have to deprioritize the studying of geography. Okay, the next, you understood by looking at this presentation what are the important focus areas. Yes, these are important focus areas. Yes, it is at this point that you have to emphasize more on these areas that we have just marked in world geography or the Indian geography. Okay, but is this all? Is this the enough information for you to now go ahead and start studying geography? Definitely not. All right, so how to go about it? See, the first and foremost thing that you need to do is always analyze the previous year papers. Okay, analyzing the previous year papers is what will give you an orientation of how to study for that particular subject. Okay, that orientation is very, very important. No one can tell you how to study. They may give you all the lectures, but it will definitely not help unless you develop that aptitude for it. So that can only happen if you analyze the previous year papers. Got it? So analyzing the previous year papers will give you the orientation of how to study. The second thing is it will help you understand the focus areas where you have to put some extra efforts. You don't have to put extra efforts on every area in a particular subject. Only on the focus areas you have to put, because those are the areas that keeps repeating in the exam, and those are the areas where you can get more marks. Okay, and the last reason why you have to analyze the paper is the tips and tricks that you are going to learn once you keep reading the questions, especially the UPSC questions. Okay, these tips and tricks are very important, because more or less most of the time what happens is there will be concepts that you may not have studied, but you will end up getting the right answers if you know the exact tips and tricks to be applied in that particular exam, right? So these three things are very important, and these three things can be got if you can analyze the previous year papers. That is why you see most of the toppers keep telling you that please analyze the previous year papers to understand the demand of the exam. Okay, now analyzing the previous year papers, how to do it, how to go about it, that is what we are going to see in the next few minutes. But before you analyze the previous year paper, the first thing that you need to do is know what is the syllabus of the subject. Okay, otherwise you are blindly seeing at the questions. You don't know where and which questions falls under which topic in the syllabus, whether it is falling in environment or whether it's falling in geography. In geography, in which chapter or topic does it fall under? You will have no idea about it. So the first thing that you will be doing is trying to learn the syllabus of a subject thoroughly. Okay, so you should have a fair idea of what the syllabus is all about. That is the first and foremost part. So now, since it's a geography orientation, let us see the syllabus of geography briefly. All right. So this is more or less the syllabus of the geography. Okay, this is all there is, and I've tried to narrow it down to the bare minimum. Okay, so in geography, the one thing is world geography, and the next is Indian geography. Broadly, you can categorize it into two parts. Okay, so in the world geography part, I have 6 broad topics. The first is geomorphology. All right, as the name suggests, geo means earth, morph means shapes, logy means studying. Studying the shapes on the surface of the earth is what we talk about on geomorphology. All right, so geomorphology, as was asked predominantly before 2013, now it has lost more relevance, but this forms major chunk of the syllabus. The second is climatology. All right, so climatology mainly deals with talking about, let us say, pressure belts, fronts, cyclones, jet streams. Okay, so if you analyze the previous year papers, the first thing that you're going to realize is every year there are a lot of questions that are being repeated from climatology. So and one more thing, what you need to understand is climatology, if you analyze the previous year papers, the questions are not factual. The questions that are being asked demands conceptual clarity. Okay, so in this information that I'm telling you is not something that I've got from somewhere else by analyzing the previous year papers, and it is this information that you have to get on your own, and that is my whole point. Okay, however, now we are just looking into the syllabus. All right, so in the world geography we did geomorphology, climatology. Now oceanography. Right, so oceanography mainly talks about oceanic phenomena, like you see the waves, the ocean currents. All right, the salinity and temperature distribution in oceans. Okay, the marine life forms, the marine resources. So more or less it revolves around the oceanic phenomena. Okay, now coming to the environmental geography part. What is this environmental geography? How much of it overlaps with environment? See, at a very broad level, geography is nothing but studying of locations on the surface of the earth. Okay, so environmental geography, though it overlaps with environment when it comes to, let us say, ecosystem, or when it comes to biodiversity, but in environmental geography, when we talk about environmental geography as such in prelims, here mainly we are talking about national parks, we are talking about wildlife sanctuaries, we are talking about wetlands or lakes. Okay, so more or less this is what we are talking about. We are talking about different biomes. Okay, so biodiversity hotspots. So more or less we are talking about different environmental locations that are very significant. Okay, that is what we are going to put in environmental geography part of the syllabus, because the basics of what is an ecosystem, what is biodiversity, what is a biome, these are things that usually falls under environment as a topic. Okay, so environmental geography, this is more or less what is it. Okay, the next is biogeography. So biogeography, when we talk, it is nothing but talking about soils. What are soils? What is the components of soils? What are the significance of it? What are the problems that are being faced by soils, right? Soil degradation or soil erosion. So more or less this is what it deals with, the biogeography part. And the sixth one is world mapping. Okay, the reason I put mapping in bold letters is that is the one right now dominating in geography. Okay, more or less if they're asking 8 questions in mapping, around 50% of it is revolving around mapping. So try and understand the importance of mapping. Okay, when I say mapping, it involves both world mapping and Indian mapping. Okay, so that's why I have written that in bold letters. However, see, world mapping can be divided into 2 parts. One is static and another is current affairs, that is places in news. Okay, so this is more or less the syllabus of world geography. Okay, at the end of the class, like at the end of the video session, I will give you how to, what to refer for completing the syllabus. Don't worry about it. We are just learning about the syllabus before we go into the analyzing papers of previous years. Got it? So this is about the world geography aspect. Okay, now coming to the Indian geography. Indian geography involves, the first unit is the physical features. Correct. So the physical features talks more about the Himalayas, the peninsular plateau, and then the Gangetic plains. Okay, so this is what the physical features of India is broadly. Okay, so questions revolve around this: the formation of these physical features, what are the importance of these physical features, the location as such. All right, so that is what is more to do with physical features. The next is rivers. If you observe again the previous year papers, every year there is one question that revolves around rivers. So again, rivers becomes very important. I told you, analyzing gives us a way to understand focus areas. So one focus area of UPSC is rivers. Got it? Next, the third one is climate. Okay, this is mainly to do with Indian climate. So we can broadly divide it into 4 different seasons in India, and what are the special phenomena that happens in different seasons is what we are going to learn in climate. Right, like we have monsoons, we have pre-monsoons, we have retreating monsoons, and then we have hot weather seasons. Right, so this is what we are learning in Indian climate. Again, whenever they talk about climate, the questions again become more conceptual rather than it is factual. Okay, the next is soils. The next is Indian soils. All right, so basically what is the Indian soil distribution what is the soil distribution in India, what are the problems that they face, what are the crops that they're growing in these soils. All right, so more or less the question revolves around this. The fifth is vegetation. That is, what are the different types of forest in India and what are their distributional aspects of it, what are the important varieties of trees that are there in these forests. Okay, the sixth one is natural hazards and disasters. Okay, that is to do with earthquakes, cyclones, tsunami. Okay, so landslides. So these are the major hazards and disasters that we see in India, and that is what the syllabus is talking about. Okay, so the next is economic geography. Now in economic geography, we have a separate book, right, for economic geography in our 12th standard. In that, broadly, these are the 3 important topics, and even within these 3, resources can be land resources, water resources, petroleum resources, or fossil fuels. Let me say fossil fuels and mineral resources. Okay, amongst these 4 resources, the fossil fuel and minerals are very important, and since India is facing water crisis, water is also becoming a very important topic in resources. Okay, finally we have agriculture. Agriculture has also become predominantly a focus area of UPSC. Of late there are repeating questions on agriculture. All right, so this is what the economic geography deals about. It talks about resources, it talks about industries, it talks about agriculture. And finally, coming to Indian mapping. Indian mapping can also be divided into 2 types. One is static, another is current affairs related. Okay, that is, you keep getting questions, right? These were places in news, this is in what context, so questions like that. Okay, so before analyzing any subject, the previous year questions of it, always know the syllabus of it. Okay, so this is more or less the syllabus of geography. All right, so this gives you an overall picture of what the syllabus is all about. anything is coming away out of this, it just means that it does not belong to this category. Okay, it does not belong to geography as such, which is what we are going to see in the next few minutes. Okay, so now since we are done with the syllabus overview, let us now analyze the previous year question papers. All right, so what I have done is I've given you a segregation of topic wise previous year question paper of 2019 and 2018. All right, but I always suggest you, after listening to this video, please make sure that you segregate the topic up to at least 2013. Okay, it is a matter of 2 hours, but it will do you wonders in your preparation, believe me. You please do that. All right, now, so after the syllabus overview, let's go to the next one. Okay, see, I have segregated this. This is the previous year questions of 2019. Now the main idea of this class is not to decipher the question to get an answer out of it, but only to know the topics. Okay, so I'll not be discussing in depth of what are these questions all about. I'm only going to take the topic and the crux of it. Okay, so if you observe the first question is mainly to do with agriculture, and that too, to be specific, is kharif crop. Okay, fine. The next question is to do with national parks. Now, national parks we are talking about is mainly in environmental geography, correct? Agriculture is to do with economic geography. Now, this question is a question on 21st June, the sun. All right, this question is from seasons climatology. Okay, so in G.C. Leong, there's a book called G.C. Leong. In that, he has explained seasons. If you have understood the seasons properly, then you can give an answer to this. Otherwise, you will not. Okay, so as I told you, climatology is to do more with the concepts. Okay, so let us see the next one. Okay, so as I've told you, if you see this question, this is nothing but places in news. That is Indian mapping of current affairs. Can I say that? Okay, now look at this question. The next question is talking about a cloudy night that is formed. That is dewdrops that are not formed on a cloudy night. Again, climatology. Okay, now the next question, it is talking about the sea bordering countries. Okay, it is giving the sea and you have to tell about the bordering countries. Again, this is world mapping, static. All right, let us see the next one. Now the next one is, they have given the names of the glaciers and they have told you to match with the rivers. So this is to do with Indian mapping. Okay, this is to do with Indian mapping. Okay, and this is static. This is not any current affairs mapping. Okay, so more or less you are getting an idea, right? Previous years, if you have analyzed, now you got a fair idea of what the questions are coming from where. Okay, let us see the 2018 questions. Okay, now look at these questions. These are previous year geography questions regarding of the year 2018. All right, now look at this. The first question is talking about Andaman and Nicobar. That comes in a topic called islands. Okay, under physical settings. Okay, the next, it is talking about a shrunken sea because of human activity, but more or less this comes under again mapping. Okay, this is world mapping and this is to do with dynamic, that is current affairs part. Okay, the next, very recently countries in lakhs of people have suffered from famine. Again, world mapping, current affairs. Got it? Now, among the following cities, which one lies along the closest to Delhi? Again, Indian mapping, static. Fine. Look at this. Consider the following pairs. Towns sometimes mentioned in news. World mapping, current affairs. Okay. The next one, the Earth's magnetic field, and then it is talking about the Earth was created and the living organisms originated. This mainly is a topic in geomorphology. Okay, geomorphology. All right. So this is talking about the evolution of the Earth. That is what this topic is. Look at the next one. The next one is, which one of the following is an artificial lake? Okay, this again falls in environmental geography and it is mainly to do with mapping. Okay, so this is the previous year of 2018. The last one, look at this. With reference to agricultural soils means biogeography, right? So this is what completes the 2018 and 19 previous year questions. So see, at a very quick pace, I've just given you the list of questions and then topics. Okay, with this, what can you deduce? You have to deduce that one, questions from the basic syllabus is coming from every part of the syllabus. You saw questions from environmental geography, you saw questions from biogeography, you're seeing questions from climatology. So the first thing that gives you a point is basics is something that you have to learn in entirety. Okay, there is no scope for you to skip something that you have to study at the level of basics. Okay, that is the first thing. That is, finishing all the syllabus in entirety is very important if you have to score good marks, not only in geography but in any subject. But geography, I'm taking it as a case study here in this particular video. Correct? So that's the first thing that you learned by analyzing the previous year papers. The second thing that you learned is what are the focus areas. Now, if I ask you a question, what are the focus areas? Just by this brief, video that you saw, tell me two things that are coming to your mind that was repeated n number of times in this particular video. The first thing is mapping. You're seeing so many questions are revolving around mapping, correct? The second thing is questions on climatology. Okay, so like that, if you are analyzing the previous year papers from 2018 to 2013, you are going to get a lot of topics which are actually repeating. Okay, I will give you an example. See, for example, rivers is a particular topic that keeps repeating. Okay, if you see the previous year topics from 2018 to 19, at least 4 times you will see the keyword called Andaman and Nicobar. Okay, so what does that say? That say that Andaman and Nicobar is somehow becoming a focus area of UPSC. So in that way, the more and more you keep analyzing, don't go beyond 2013 or 11. All right, don't try to go up to 1990s, because the trend then was very different. The way they asked questions was very different. Always restrict yourself up to 2013 or maximum 2011. Don't go beyond that. It is useless. All right, so it is always important for you to do it on your own, to previously analyze the previous year papers, and this you have to do it on your own. All right, you take pen and paper and try to analyze it, and for that you have to know the syllabus, which you got to know now. Okay, so from 18 to 13, try to analyze all the questions segregated topic wise. Okay, that will give you a fair idea of the basic what needs to be studied and the focus areas. Okay, the next, so this is more or less how to go about the first thing. First, know the syllabus, then try to see the previous year papers. All right, now there is one more thing in geography which you are going to see now. Now look at this. There is something called previous year questions ka hybrid topics. Okay, there is something called hybrid topics. When I say hybrid topics, it seems like it's a question of geography, but it has elements of environment, and it also has elements of current affairs. Okay, so this is what I call as hybrid topics, because the question is seeming like either it is geography or environment, but these questions cannot be answered by studying just a basic book. Okay, so this looks like a combination of geography, environment and current affairs. So how to go about these things? First, before how to go about, let us just look at a few questions so that you get clarity. Okay, now look at the first question. The first question is mainly talking about the use of cirrus cloud thinning technique. Okay, so cirrus cloud thinning technique is to do mainly with climate change, and this is something that you will not read from any basic book. Some people will say that this question is environment, some people geography, some people current affairs. Correct. However, this is a hybrid topic. It can be put in any part. All right. Let's look at the second question. Which of the following statements are correct about the deposits of methane hydrate? Okay. Now methane hydrate can come under resources, and under resources you can talk about unconventional resources, and this deposits of methane hydrate can come under that. Right. It can also come under environment topics, or it can come under current affairs. So these are called hybrid topics, which you usually will not get answers by just studying the basic books. Okay, so look at these. Look at a few more hybrid questions now. Okay, so look at this. The next question is talking about Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture. It is talking about agriculture, okay, but it is also talking about climate. So more or less it's geography, environment, current affairs again. Okay, look at the next one. What are the possible consequences of heavy sand mining in riverbeds? Okay, so sand mining in riverbeds, again environment, geography, more or less both, right? The next question is talking about the concept of conservation agriculture. Okay, so I hope you're getting an idea of what this hybrid topic means. One, hybrid topic is a combination of geography, environment, and current affairs. Two, you will not be in a position to give exact answers just by studying the basics. Okay, but the reason why I'm bringing this to your notice is it is okay that if you're not able to find answers to this just by reading basics, because no one else will. All right, so how to go about this is what we are going to see now. Look at this. I have made a list of some hybrid topics that I could get from the top of my head. So one is climate change. Okay, a lot of questions keep coming on climate change, so that is an hybrid topic. So I can either they can go concept wise of what climate change and global warming is, that will give you a geographical orientation, or they can go ahead by asking you about some international organization related to climate change, that will give you an environmental inclination. Either ways it becomes a hybrid topic. Okay, the next is unconventional energy sources. So for example, you just saw an example, right? There is another example called solar energy. Again, if you analyze the previous year paper from 2018 to 13, believe me that there are at least 4 years where they have constantly asked on solar energy. You can find this. Okay, so more or less you are getting a gist, right? So that is an hybrid topic, unconventional energy sources. The next is agriculture. In this hybrid topic itself, you saw so many examples of agriculture, right? There is climate smart agriculture, organic farming. There is a new thing, zero budget natural farming. So these are new things that are coming in agriculture, which there is high scope that the examiner can ask in the exam. So these hybrid topics are becoming very important, and this is where the questions are. At the beginning I told you geography questions are reducing, right? Though geography questions are reducing, the hybrid questions are increasing in its context. So now tell me, is it correct to deprioritize geography? No, because you will not be able to get any answer from hybrid topics if you don't know geography. If you want to get hybrid topics, right, you should know the basics of geography, you should know the basics of environment, and you should be well versed with the current affairs. Only then can you get hybrid topics right. Okay, so that is the reason. Do not deprioritize geography just by looking at some trend given by some institutes. Got it? Next, the fourth one is pollution. Pollution also you see a lot of questions revolving around it, right? So soil pollution is something that mostly is becoming repetitive, and sand mining you just saw in the previous slide, right? The next is forests in India. Forests in India is becoming a very important aspect, as now forestry has been integrated into the same prelims of UPSC civils. Forest the topic on forest is becoming increasingly more. So having an idea of forests in India, the problems faced by these forests, the distribution of forests percentage and area wise, I think having that knowledge is very, very important now. Okay, so make sure that you concentrate on these things. See, this is just an example that I have given you of what are all the hybrid topics that I could come up from the back of my mind by analyzing the previous year papers. So the more and more you keep seeing the previous year questions, you will come up with more list of such hybrid topics. So how to go ahead and let us say how exactly to master this hybrid topics. See, one is, I told you how to master this hybrid topics. There are two ways. The first way is you have to know the basics of geography, the basics of environment very well, and with that, if you have studied some coaching institutes geography related current affairs, that should suffice. Do not try to do over research on this. Okay, don't try to read some 5 institutes current affairs just to feel a sense of security, because that is actually a waste of time. All right, so always make sure that you have the basics of geography and environment right, and then you study one current affairs material regarding geography, you will get the hybrid topics right. All right, because that basics will help you apply logic, and that logic will help you get the right answers. Okay, and once you make the next thing, what you need to do is, the next thing is the moment you have made a list. So one, you have completed the first geography related current affairs, that is basics plus current affairs. The second thing what you need to do is, I've told you more and more when you analyze the previous year papers, you make a list. Okay, just like how I have given you a list of hybrid topics here, you also make a list of hybrid topics. and once you have made that list after analyzing the previous papers, do some extra research. Please do not try to do more research, just do some extra research so that you get what currently is happening on those topics. That's all, not more than that. Okay, don't try to get into the technical aspects of it, but only to know what is the current relevance of such things happening. All right, so see, for example, if I have to tell right now, biological disaster and industrial disaster are something that is an hybrid topic that I can predict that it may come in this year's prelims or in mains, right? Why? Because see, it's an hybrid topic because it is a disaster. Okay, it may come in geographical aspect. Okay, it may talk about disaster management as such. It may come from environmental angle. Okay, so if from environmental angle, it can talk about how it will harm the environment. It can come from political angle. It may talk about the Disaster Management Act and as well as Epidemic Diseases Act. So it becomes an hybrid topic, right? So that is how you need to keep creating a list of all the hybrid topics. So just once you create the list, try to do some extra research on it, not more, but not technically more, but just to know what is happening with respect to that particular topic. Okay, so this is all about hybrid topics. Though the questions are seemingly reducing on geography, the questions on hybrid topics is seemingly increasing to be true. All right, this is something that no one has identified. So relevance of geography and environment is becoming more because hybrid topics can be answered only by the knowledge of geography and environment. All right, so this is about the hybrid topics. 1, make sure that your basics and current affairs are right. 2, do some extra research on the new list that you have created for the hybrid topics. Okay, now the next category that I want to show you is, now look at this category. Okay, this category says the questions will appear like geography, but they are actually not geography. Okay, now it is this set of questions that are actually creating a lot of confusion in students' minds, and it is this particular part of the questions that are making geography seem like it is very vast. Let us look at some questions and then come back to it. Okay, so now look at the first question. The first question is talking about minor minerals in India. Okay, so it is mainly to do with minerals. Okay, and it is so that you deduce that it is to do with economic geography. Okay, but read the question thoroughly. If you read, sand is a minor mineral according to the prevailing law in the country. State governments have the power to grant mining leases for minor minerals, but the power regarding the formation of the rules is with the central government. State governments have the power to frame rules to prevent illegal mining of minor minerals. Okay, though the question broadly is a topic of geography, it has nothing to do with geography here. Are you understanding this? Okay, this is the first one. Let us see the next one. If you see or read the next one is mainly talking about coal. Okay, the next one is mainly talking about coal as a resource. Now coal as a resource is again falling under fossil fuels, and fossil fuels comes in economic geography. Now, but if you read the question, you know that it has nothing to do with geography. Okay, the same way, the next is, it is talking about chlorophyll, greenhouse gas emissions and land surface temperature. Okay, all this with respect to remote sensing data. Now the moment you are reading this obviously are appearing like topics of geography, but it has nothing to do with geography at all. Okay, but if you are looking at the questions, you are feeling that it is geography, and you are feeling that you have studied geography and still you are not there in that position to answer these questions. So the moment you are seeing this and you are feeling you are not in that position, the first thing that the student does is he starts feeling that he has to study something more. So what does he do? He will start taking more and more books to try and study to make sure that he also aces these questions. Okay, but is it a right strategy? Definitely not. Okay, please do not follow that strategy at all. Okay, first of all, try and understand these are not geography questions, so there is no point of adding more books into your geography curriculum and reading more books about it, because though you keep adding more and more books and reading on geography, you will not end up answering these questions at all. Okay, so that is not an approach at all. So most of the students they start piling up more books by looking at these questions. That is why I'm trying to tell you, or I'm trying to bring to your notice that please don't worry about these questions at all. At the end of the day, it is the basics that matters, and it is the basics that will help you out. Okay, so how to deal? The next question is how to deal with such questions. Okay, now if you observe closely, such questions cannot be dealt with one single source. So how to deal with it? One is your basics, okay. Two is your current affairs knowledge. The three is common sense, and the third is your logical thinking, okay. And these two will come if you remain calm in the exam. Got it? So how to answer such questions is mainly a cumulative of all these things, okay. And the cumulative of all these things will not come in a day or two, or will definitely not come by reading some book. So try and get clarity right now itself that if you want to ace such questions, you will not ace such questions by reading something. So if you have that clarity, then you will have clarity to how to narrow down your resources, or narrow down your sources to study. Got it? So always believe that the more and more you keep accumulating knowledge, the better and better chances that you will tackle such questions, provided you have narrowed down the sources and you have repeated it many number of times, provided you have solved a lot of MCQs and you are able to apply logic whenever you are solving a lot of questions, okay. That is the only trick to solve these questions, okay. There is no magic book that will help you solve these questions. Let there be clarity on that. So please stop piling more and more books for you to study for prelims. That is not a strategy at all, okay. Now let us see. So how to study effectively for prelims? So up to this point we just got to know the syllabus of geography, and then we analyzed the previous year papers. In that we got to know what is the importance of basic knowledge, what is the importance of focus areas, what are these hybrid topics, and what are the questions that actually creates anxiety among students that geography is vast, okay. Where in fact geography is not vast, but geography is pretty simple, provided you have clarity on what to study and what not to, okay. So coming to how to study effectively for prelims. See, these are steps that you can apply for any subject. I've told you the order, okay. This is the order that you need to follow. Always and always first know the syllabus, okay. You should always know the syllabus of every subject, okay. Then analyze the previous year papers. If you can analyze from 2019 to 2013, that will be very good. If you can go to 2011, that is still good, but don't go beyond that, okay. After analyzing the previous year papers, you with the pen and paper in your hand try to segregate this both topic wise and subject wise, okay. So you need, if you do it with your own hand, with your own mind working, where which topic does this question fall and that question fall, that exercise itself will give you a lot of clarity on which are the focus areas, okay. So please make sure that you do it on your own. It'll maximum take 1 day to do it, but that 1 day of efforts will actually help you for your prelims, right? If people are not clearing prelims, they have to wait 1 entire year for the next prelims for their, for attempting it again, right? So why are you sacrificing an entire year? Rather than that, you put your efforts in 1 day to get that clarity, right? So that's a very good return on investment. All right. So the first is know the syllabus, analyze the previous year papers. The third is segregated subject wise, and segregate the topics subject wise as well as topic wise, okay. The next, identify the sources to read, okay. Here the most important aspect is narrowing down the sources. Please don't try to read more sources just because people are telling you to, or don't read more sources just because you're feeling that that subject is vast and you have to study more. Don't do that mistake, okay. Always keep narrowed sources, basic books. Got it? Then identify important themes. This point 5, identifying important themes, can come only if you have done point 3 very sincerely. Are you getting it? Point 5 will become very, very vague if you have done point 3 very vaguely. The more effort you put in point 3, the returns you will see in point 5, okay. And identifying important themes is very, very important, okay. The next point 6 is keep revising, and keep revising is possible only if you have worked on point 4. Only if you have narrowed down the source of what to study can you keep revising that narrow set of books again and again. If you have kept, let us say, 4 books for only geography, and if you want to revise it, that revision itself will take a month, okay. So always narrow down the sources that you want to study, okay. The 7th is keep solving a lot of MCQs, okay. That solving MCQs will actually give you hints of the tips and tricks that you can use in order to remove answers, though you have not studied that topic thoroughly, Okay, so always in the exam, don't think that just because you have not studied the topic, you have to skip the topic or skip that question altogether. That is a very wrong strategy. All right, always know that in UPSC exams especially, more or less the answers can be removed with common sense and logic. Though you have not studied that particular topic, only with common sense and logic you can eliminate one or two statements and get an answer out of it. Okay, so you will start understanding such things or such subtle areas only by solving a lot of MCQs. Got it? So the last and the most important part to success is repeat step 6 and 7 till the day of the exam. Keep doing it again and again. Okay, so this is the basic order how you need to proceed for prelims for any subject. Okay, for any subject as a matter of fact. And if you can do this effectively, you will see the confidence. Okay, you will see the confidence within yourself. The moment you reach 3, okay, you yourself will start getting oriented in your mind. You will stop listening to others telling you what to read and what not to. You know what to read and you will start doing it. Okay, and the more and more you keep doing step 8, and the greater and greater confidence that you get that you're going to ace prelims. All right, so this is how you have to study and orient yourself. All right, so now since we have studied, since we have seen how to study effectively, let us see the sources of geography. All right, fine. So this is about the sources. The sources is very simple. I have told you again, the sources is very simple. Don't try to study a lot of books. 6th standard to 12th standard NCRTs. Okay, 6th to 10th NCRTs are very simple books. They can be finished in a couple of days. All right, it is 11th and 12th standard books that will take some time. Got it? So even amongst the 11th and 12th standard, these are the 2 important books that you have to study. You cannot skip on this. Okay, these are the 2 books that you have to study. Okay, see, human geography has less returns, so if you don't have time, you can just glance over it or skip it, but other things I think you have to give a reading once. Okay, so this is the first thing. The next thing is G.C. Leong book, the certificates of geography. This G.C. Leong book is a very good read. Usually people feel burdened reading this book because they try to read it academically. They try to buy out things when they are reading it. Please don't read like that. Okay, G.C. Leong should be read in a way just to understand the information. Okay, you read it not to remember the definitions or try to remember the literature as such. You just read it so that in the exam, when you read the question again, you should be in a state to recognize that that particular statement is wrong or the statement is right. To that level you have to read it. Don't try to buy out anything there. Okay, so G.C. Leong, read, even if you're feeling very difficult, at least read the second part of G.C. Leong. That second part talks about climate and weather. Okay, the second part, it mainly talks about climate and weather. I told you climatology is very important. Okay, so the second part of climate and weather is actually a little important area. Okay, but I would suggest you to read. See, at the end of the day, geography is studying NCRT and G.C. Leong. That is the only 2 books you have to read. You don't have to read anything else. Okay, so I would suggest you to complete these 2. Okay, complete it in a way like don't try to buy out everything at one go. Try to just visualize whatever you're studying, and you should be in a state to recognize what is correct, what is wrong. That's it. Recognition and not complete recollection is what is required. All right. The third one is mapping. I've already told you mapping has become very, very important. So you cannot be in a state to lose out on mapping. Okay. So I've told you, one is static, another is dynamic. How to do the static part? Okay. Take your atlas, go to YouTube. In YouTube, go to any channel. There are a number of channels that talks about mapping. Go to any channel, but pick only one channel. In that channel, go continent wise. Okay, that in the channel usually they usually tell mapping continent wise. So you keep your atlas while listening to the video. You keep an atlas in front of you. Every continent when they are discussing, you also keep marking in your atlas concurrently. Okay, then you keep repeating it again and again. That is how you start gaining competency in static part of mapping. Especially I'm talking about world mapping. Okay, fine. So this is about static. How to do the dynamic aspect? Dynamic aspect, there are 2 ways to do about it. One, people who are reading the Hindu news or the current affairs regularly, they will have a list of places in news made. That is a good way to go. But I know that usually people will not follow this. They are searching for a shortcut. So the only shortcut that you can do is, usually the coaching institutes will release places in news. So get those places in news, for the past 1 year or 1.5 years or so, and make sure that you start marking it in your atlas. Okay, again, world mapping has become very, very important, so please do not neglect on world mapping. Okay, especially the both the static and dynamic part. So I've given you the methodology how to go about the world mapping. What about Indian mapping? See, the book called Indian Geography, the 11th standard book, okay, the 11th standard book of Indian Geography does more or less a good job of Indian locations. Okay, it has so many names that whenever you're reading that book of 11th standard Indian Geography, keep an atlas next to you and keep marking all the places. For example, you will come across Karakoram, Pir Panjal, Ladakh Range, Greater Himalayas, okay, Purvanchal. So the moment you are coming across names, keep marking it in your atlas. Okay, so that book itself, wherever you come across different names in your book of Indian Geography, keep marking those names in your atlas of Indian Geography. So that itself is a very good exercise to complete your mapping of Indian Geography. All right, and that is the static part. The dynamic part, again, the dynamic part follows the same thing. Some coaching institute would have given the places in use for the past 1.5 years. Please make sure that you get it. All right, so that is about mapping. Okay, the next one is geography related current affairs. Okay, see, geography related current affairs you have to study, because I told you now the questions, though seemingly is reducing in basic part, it is increasingly coming from the hybrid part, and to haze that hybrid part you have to know the geography related current affairs. All right, and then work on important themes. All right, so see, always in any subject you should always make a list of themes. I'll give you an example. See, if you see polity, parliament is a theme. Every year there will always be 1 or 2 questions that comes from parliament, correct? So for example, in international relations, some international bank is a theme. For example, there has been questions coming from IMF, there has been questions coming from AIIB. Okay, so one or the other year one question comes from such theme. The one more example is reports. Okay, report is a theme as such. There is every year one question that revolves around report. This and this report is done by which organization. So like that, even in geography there will always be themes. Like I told you, rivers, okay, or I told you climatology. Okay, so these are important themes that you have made a list and you have to do some extra research. And you also don't forget about the hybrid themes. I just told about the hybrid themes. So hybrid themes is more or less where there are environment and geographical aspects both come together. Okay, so this is more or less how to go about geography. Read the NCERTs thoroughly, especially these two. Okay, read the GC Leong book. Give a glancery reading. Don't try to read it line by line, but understand the essence. Don't try to buy out the literature. Okay, I've given you the mapping ideas, but make sure your static and current affairs aspect of mapping both are updated. Then the geography related current affairs, pick up any coaching institute's book, read the geography related current affairs, that should suffice. Then you have made a list of important themes and hybrid themes. Work on those important themes and hybrid themes. Do some extra research of what is happening in those area. Okay, so this is what the sources is. Okay, so I hope this has given you enough clarity of how to go about geography as a subject. Okay, and finally, this is all you have to do. This is the only magic formula for you if you have to clear prelims. All right, revise, always keep revising, and that can only happen if you have narrowed down the sources and keeping things very simple. Solve a lot of questions. The more and more you solve, the greater and greater competency that you get, and the greater confidence that it builds, that you will clear prelims. Okay, and repeat these two again and again. Okay, so this is more or less about the way to go about prelims as such and geography in specific. So I hope that you people have got some type of value added with respect to your preparation. So all the very best to you people. Happy studies. Thank you.